Welcome to this edition of Rattling the Bars, a podcast that amplifies the voices of people who are disenfranchised, marginalized, and subjugated while offering solutions. I'm your host, Mansa Musa. Maryland is currently in its legislative session, and today we are discussing two important bills proposed by the Second Look Coalition, which focuses on sentencing reform. Joining me to discuss these are two formerly incarcerated organizers from the coalition, Desmond Haneef Perry and Alonzo Turner Bay. Thank you for joining me.
All right, thank you for having me, bro.
And all right, let's, for the benefit of our audience, let's educate our audience on the legislative process. So, legislative session in the state of Maryland has convened and is in the process of looking at a series of bills around the interests of the state. What's of interest to the Second Look Coalition is specific bills directly as it relates to men and women that are incarcerated. One bill in particular that the Second Look Coalition is sponsoring and trying to get people to become more aware of is Senate Bill 123. All right. Haneef, tell us about what Senate. First, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. All right, thank you for having me on here, bro. So my name is Desmond Haneef Perry. I've been home now out of the Division of Corrections for almost 2 years. I came home back in May of 2022. I was incarcerated when I was 18, and I did a total of 20 years, 78 days. I was a lifer. I had life plus 15 years. Successfully won a post-conviction, and so that's how I was able to gain my freedom, obtain my freedom, but also because of something that we're going to talk about when we get into talking about the bill and talking about the significance of the Second Look bill is that I'm from Prince George's County originally, and because I was convicted and sentenced in Prince George's County, I had the benefit, I guess I would say it's that, I had the benefit to have Aisha Braveboy as my state's attorney. Mm-hmm. And her program that they have right now, the integrity unit, the sentencing and conviction integrity unit, was also a means that I benefited from to be able to get out, and it's somewhat connected to what we're talking about here today. And I'll go in a little bit more about that, but I am also a forensic peer specialist right now. Since I've been home, I'm, so humbled to have opportunities like this to be able to speak, to the public and, share my story and my experience and also the things that I'm advocating for, like this particular bill right here. But I'm a forensic peer specialist with the Office of the Public Defender, with the Maryland Office of the Public Defender. And I'm also the co-founder of a reentry nonprofit organization called Rectify, which is focused on trauma-informed peer support and clinical case management, helping individuals return home equitably and, be treated with decency and give the things that they need.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing now.
Okay, and Turner Bay, before we unpack this bill, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
My name is Alonzo Turner Bay. I was arrested and convicted of a charge of homicide when I was 17 years old. I was sentenced to life plus 5 years. At 17 years old, I served 31 years, 6 months, 15 days, and 5 hours. I was released on parole in October 16, 2020, after serving over 31 years. Since I've been out, I'm a certified peer recovery specialist for a local county agency. I volunteer with a nonprofit organization called Fresh, Fully Restoring Every Son's Hope. We go around the country teaching our youth about knowing their rights and how to interact with law enforcement in a manner where everybody can walk away with their life safe and what's the name, teach about their Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment. We also feed the homeless. We work with men and women who come home from prison, help them get reacclimated. And right now we currently are doing a clothing drive for a nonprofit organization called Mama Safe Haven, where we collecting clothes for women and children because they work with battered women who leave their situation with nothing. They just leave with the kids. They get up in the middle of the night and they roll. So we trying to make sure that these women got clothes for going job interviews. These children got jobs. Got clothes so they can go to school. We trying to help the women get back, because one thing like me, Master Musa, for women who are in our situation, in prison, who have been in prison, they don't get as much attention and focus as the men do.
That's right.
So fully restoring every son's hope, we want to help the sisters out as much as we can. And so we're working with this battered woman organization, and we trying to provide some clothes to these women and these children and all the everyday needs they need.
Okay, and which opened the door for the conversation about the bill, because as you said, we recognize that the women that's incarcerated in Maryland, the state of Maryland in particular, and the country in general, don't get treated nowhere near the treatment that men get, and men get mistreated. And what that say about what women getting? But so we looking at right today though, we're looking at the legislative session being convened, and we're looking at a bill that the Second Look Coalition is endorsing and sponsoring, and it's Senate Bill 123. All right, Haneef, explain what Senate Bill 123 is for the benefit of our audience.
Thank you. So just in a nutshell, to keep it quite simple, Senate Bill 123 is our version of what we call a Second Look bill. And this bill for the state of Maryland is a bill that would grant an individual the opportunity to come back for a relook at their sentence after the individual has served 20 years of incarceration. This bill doesn't discriminate in gender. This bill doesn't discriminate in age, and nor does it discriminate in offense of any type. And one of the things that we emphasize with this bill, because we're saying that if an individual has served 20 years of incarceration and that person has demonstrated that they deserve a second chance, that they've demonstrated that they have reformed, that they have done all of the things that they could possibly do. They've went to school, they got an education, college degrees. They've completed all types of cognitive behavioral programming. They've been, I guess you would say, somewhat of a model inmate in regards to their infraction record. And, they held jobs. And they've demonstrated throughout this 20 years that, they have changed, that they've gained, the remorse and empathy that we all are looking like in such tragic crimes when they happen, that this individual should be given a second look, that his case now or her case now should come up before a judge, and that they should be given an opportunity to look at that individual and determine whether they want to reduce that individual's sentence, and give this individual a second chance. And again, we're saying this is a second chance for all in the state of Maryland. There are some other bills, and we want the public to be aware that there are some other bills that are advocating for something similar to what we're advocating for. However, these bills are not for everyone. One of them is focused on geriatric individuals, individuals who are 60 years old and above. And another bill is focused on giving the prosecutors the, I guess you would say, the right or the ability to bring these individuals back up. And we know that can be problematic if we don't have a complete bill that is just saying, hey, look, it's simple. 20 years or better, 20 years or better with a great institutional record, 20 years or better demonstrating that they have reformed, gone above and beyond to show, then this individual should come back up, and we should be looking at their cases and re-examining it, not from the perspective of the offense and the crime, because that's one of the things that can't change. And that's something that we, like to elaborate on and talk about, is that, we cannot revisit that person's offense and say, well, because of the nature of the offense or because of the offense that took place, now we're looking at all of the good that the person has done, this man or woman has done, and we're going to say, well, because of that, it outweighs their good, as if they're irredeemable.
Right.
And it's something that, we just feel like, man, it shouldn't be done. But basically, in a nutshell, this particular bill is just that. It's a second chance for all. 20 years or better, a person should be able to come back up for a relook at their sentence.
And Turner Bay, okay, as Haneef just outlined, okay, it's a bill for all. Okay, we recognize that. And we recognize that it's all hinged on a person has a significant amount of time they have served. But I was looking at the bill, unpack this bill if you can, about some of the things, factors they're going to take into account in assessing once the person has filed a petition with the court to get a modification or to get their sentence. Turner Bay, talk about some of the things that the court going to be looking at in terms of making their determination. So for the benefit of our audience, that it won't just look like, well, person did 30 years, person did 20 years, filed a petition, say they've been doing good, ain't got no tickets. Okay, that's all good, now they get out. Is that the gist of it, or is it going to be a more in-depth analysis on the part of the court? Turner Bay?
It's going to be a more in-depth analysis. Let's get this understood. We're talking about a person who's doing 20 years day for day, not including good days. 20 years day for day. When they came in incarceration, they got their GED. They may have went to anger management. They went to thinking for change. They have gotten all of these programs that aid and assist them in becoming a better individual. They have went to school. They have availed themselves to every opportunity. They have worked. They have changed. We're going to look at their family. If when a person puts petition to the court, let's get this clear. It's not a guarantee that you're going to be released.
That's right.
And I forgot to add
This bill
that.
does not give a guarantee release. All it says is you will be given the opportunity to present your case before a judicial body. A judge can say, okay, right now you serving life plus 20 years. You've been locked up since you was 18. Okay, we're going to take and cut your life to 50 years. Then you may go for parole in another 10 years later. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to release. The judge can cut your sentence to a point where you don't have life. You can have 50 years. You can have 60 years. He can reduce your sentence based upon how he look at your record. Victims will be notified in this case.
Yeah, talk about that.
This bill does, in fact, have victim notification in it, which means the victim, if you have a crime or a case where there's a victim, the victim will be notified by the state's attorney's office and will be informed that you have petitioned the court and you will ask the court for reduction of sentence, and the victims will be given, let me repeat this again, the victim or the victim's family or representatives will be given an opportunity to appear before this court and say what they want to say, speak, whether they're for it or they're against it. They will be given an opportunity. You know,
all right, let me ask you this here. Okay, and I'm going to ask you this here, Turner Bay, then Haneef, you can weigh in on it too. Okay, I'm pushing back. Okay, I'm push back like this here. In the system right now, in the Maryland prison system, all right, we talking about introducing a bill that say if you serve 20 years, that you have a right to petition the court to have your sentence reviewed. All right, okay, but I served 20 years. I'm eligible for parole. I served 20 years. So why do I need a law to say, in addition to this, I served 20 years. I got a right to modification when I first come into the system. How these things, when you juxtapose these things to what you're talking about with this bill, how these things jail, Turner Bay? Because I'm see they do have in the state of Maryland in law, they do have different situations where a person can gain relief post-conviction. Haneef just talked about he filed post-conviction and got relief. So why do we need another law or bill to come out and say, yeah, well, we gonna give you preferential treatment?
No, let's get it understood. We're not saying a right. You don't have a right. We're saying we're giving you an opportunity. Parole is an opportunity to present yourself before two commissioners or two agents to give an opportunity to see if you're worthy or should be given or granted parole. The first modification that any person get out the incarceration, you must be filed within the first 5 years of your incarceration. If a person is serving a sentence of life in prison, there's no judge on the face of the earth after your first 5 years of incarceration is going to give you some type of relief or modification. Why? Mm-hmm. Because you have not demonstrated before that court that you are not the same person you was 5 years. They want you to do some time for the crime that you have committed. So we have come to the conclusion that 20 years, day for day, not including diminution credit, 20 years from the date of your arrest all the way up to now, then you become eligible This is not a right. You become eligible. It's not guaranteed that you will be released. And we look at 20 years because we're saying that after being incarcerated 20 years, if a person goes in prison and does everything that he or she is supposed to do to aid and assist in their rehabilitation process, aid and assist in their changing of their mindset process, aid and assist in their thought process, and educating themselves. After 20 years, this person should not be the same person they were when they came to prison, regardless of what their age is. And so this will only give the court an opportunity, not a guarantee. This is not a guarantee. It only presents the court with an opportunity to consider and weigh in all of the factors and then making a decision from a judicial process and saying, hey, this person may deserve an opportunity, but I ain't gonna give them the complete opportunity today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reduce your sentence. You're serving life with parole. Well, I'm gonna reduce it to maybe 50 years.
Okay.
And so with 50 years, you go back up and see the parole board, and then the parole board will make a determination and say, hey, come back in 3 years, come back in 5 years. It's not a guarantee.
Haneef, come on.
Go ahead.
Let me ask this, then you can go ahead and say.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Okay. Why do you think this bill is important in terms of the mindset of the prison population in the state of Maryland? What do you think this bill represents for them?
I believe first and foremost, this bill represents hope. And that's something that we have to continue to give individuals who are incarcerated. Me coming from that setting. So first, let me say it like this, because Turner Bay, touched on some things that I want to piggyback off of that before I go into this. But it definitely represents hope. And this is the reason why. There are set up right now for those in the public who may be wondering, why are we pushing for this? Because there are other mechanisms set up for an individual right now, as we currently speak, to be able to petition the court to come back for some type of reduction, modification, or review of sentence. There's no doubt about that. However, when a person has done a substantial amount of time, you end up exhausting all of those remedies before sometime before 20 years.
Right.
You exhausting all of those remedies because everything has a time limit and a deadline that you have to get those things in. And just like Turner Bay talked about, if you have the right or ability to file a modification of sentence in the state of Maryland, which is true, but it's a 5-year cap on it, then what? That means you get to that 5 years and it's a possibility that you go up for that modification. You're not going to get it, like he said, because you don't have enough time and to demonstrate, that you have, reformed, that you have changed. And that's a significant thing. The number is very significant. A person may look at it like, okay, it's 20 years. Some people may look at that and diminish that, but 20 years in reality, as we know, that's a generation.
Yeah.
20 years is a generation. So we're talking about a person who has been incarcerated for an entire generation of their life, right? So that's key that we point that out, and that this mechanism right here would be a mechanism that would give individuals hope. And one of the things that we don't want to do with our individuals who are incarcerated is take away that hope. Right now, the United States of America in whole and Maryland as being one state in part, as we know, we incarcerate more people than anyone else on the entire face of this earth. Let alone that, the state of Maryland, as we now have determined that the Office of the Attorney General and the Office of the Public Defender have came together because the numbers in the state of Maryland are out of this world. And it's unacceptable that we have or make up 29, 30, or some say 30, 31% of the population in this state. But however, we lock up 71%.
Come on out. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense.
That math crazy.
That doesn't make sense. That math is crazy. And that's not even talking about the math for the entire country.
Right.
So when we're talking about this right here in this particular bill, this bill does a lot. It gives individuals who are incarcerated something to work for, something to strive for. Like myself, for example.
That's right.
There's no doubt about it, man, that had not these two things happened by the permission of God, I would not be sitting here right now talking to you. For one, I had a post-conviction. My post-conviction was denied.
Right.
First and foremost, my post-conviction was denied. I filed an application for leave to appeal, and the higher courts overturned my case and then granted me, the lower court granted me post-conviction relief. Even after that, the prosecutors, wanted to retry me and reconvict me again, even after the higher court saying, no, there was an egregious prosecutorial misconduct issue here. Constitutional right was violated of this young man, and you need to correct that. However, the prosecutor still wanted to prosecute me, that particular assistant state's attorney at that time. And had it not been for something, that is the only thing going on in the state of Maryland right now, is that Aisha Braveboy and her team put together a sentencing and conviction integrity unit, which is similar but not quite the same to what we're talking about right now. And what they did was they put together a unit that would go and look at the individual's institutional record and look at how long they've been locked up and seeing what they have done to determine whether they would want to give them that second chance.
And as you was outlining as you outline your situation and how much time and what you've done, but you put on top of that, you've done over 20 years.
Right.
So the reality is that you demonstrating what this bill is representing. You are actually proof positive. You ain't Turner Bay, the proof positive. Okay, even if we take out of the equation the post conviction, if we take out of the equation whatever relief, how Turner Bay got relief, if we take that out the equation, how I got relief, and put into the equation a 20 years cap or opportunity where men and women have the opportunity to petition the court to look at me and look at my circumstances and see if I'm worthy to be released. Turner Bay.
Yes.
Talk about how you see this bill as going forward, because you got your ear to the ground, and how you see this bill going forward. What are y'all basically saying?
This bill is imperative. We got to look at this. Maryland, as a population in a whole, people of African descent make up less than 30% of the population in Maryland, but we make up 78% of the prison population. When you got individuals, the JRA do not affect anybody who come to prison at 18.
For a benefit of our OS, what's the JRA? Because they don't know the acronym.
The Juvenile Restoration Act is the bill that passed 2021 for individuals who was under the age of 18 and are serving long sentences. After 20 years in prison, they can come back, petition the court, and ask to have their sentences reviewed. Right. This is the exact same thing, but for those who are 18 years and older. Right. They are individuals that I know, just like you know, Master Musa, who came to prison 2 days or 3 days or a week after their 18th birthday. Mm-hmm. So they missed the Juvenile Restoration Act. They have been in prison for 30, 40, even 50 years. Yeah. First-time offenders. Yeah. And we're saying what this bill is, if an individual meet this criteria and all of these standards, and the bar ain't set low, the bar is set high in this bill. The bar is set high. If you meet this and you have done everything that you're supposed to do, we're saying that this bill will allow you the opportunity to present your case to a judicial body, to a sitting judge, have the judge to review your case and make a deciding factor in writing on why they're going to give you some relief and they're going to spill it all out. Mm-hmm. And the average person is not just going to be released. Bang. You're going to be given some parole, some probation. You're going to have some restrictions that you're going to have to do. There's a lot. It's just not an immediate answer. And some people won't get a relief. They may get a reduction. Some people may get turned down. So let's look at all of the ramifications. Yeah. This is not an opening of the valve, but Maryland prison system need this because we behind Mississippi and Alabama when it comes to locking up people of African descent. Yeah. Small as Maryland is, we're behind Mississippi and Alabama. So this is imperative.
We've been always been in that system. Always been in that system in the sense of when they locked it down. Always been in that system in the sense where they had no program. Always been in that system where we had to create our own program. But how do you talk about this here going forward? How do you look at the bill, and what do you want people? What are the Second Chance Act coalition advocating in terms of how people can support the effort of trying to get some support and trying, more importantly, get the legislative body in Maryland to be receptive to voting? Because I think the day they had a hearing on it today, be receptive on like passing this bill?
First and foremost, everyone, whoever is listening to this, and if you're interested in learning more about it, you can go to the Maryland Second Look Coalition's website. And on there, you can see more about the bill first and foremost. But then secondly, if you would like to, after you have read it, and if you agree with it, and if you heard something today that you agree with that we've said, then, the next step is to reach out to your representative. The next step is to reach out to the senator or to the delegate or congressman or man or woman in your district, and you reach out to them and let them know that you would like to support, you want them to support this bill.
Right.
That you're asking them to support this bill. So make that phone call. And it's very simple. It's very easy. You can look up and find out who in your district is the person that you need to go to, no matter where you are at in the state of Maryland. And you can simply just ask and request them to support the House bill for the Second Look Act and the Senate bill for the Second Look Act.
And Turner Bay, and talk about, as we close out, talk about in the bill, I've seen in the bill where they talk about the role of the state's attorney and the prosecutor, and it has in there that the prosecutor can either agree with the request or disagree with the request. But you have, a relationship when you got out, you build a network and you build a relationship with the prosecutor's office in terms of like letting it, so they can be aware of the importance that you have in terms of like helping people, and more importantly, to be able to give other people coming behind you the opportunity to see that they got the same rights that you got. Talk about how that play out. How you think that's going to play out in terms of mainly in the state of, in the PG County or in the state of Maryland in general. How you think the prosecutors are looking at this bill?
Every prosecutor is looking at this bill. Every prosecutor is looking at it, because let's be real. The prosecutors get a say-so. And this bill makes sure that the prosecutors get a say-so. Some prosecutors going to say no to some cases. Some prosecutors may say yeah to some cases. And some prosecutors may have a on the fence mindset because they want stipulations with the reduction of sentence.
Right.
All of that is welcome.
Facts.
So nobody is left out. You have a judge, you got victims' right advocates, you have the prosecutor, you have the defendant and his counsel. This is imperative because in my case, Aisha Braveboy, who's the Honorable Aisha Braveboy out of Prince George's County, she sent a letter to the governor and to the parole commission on my behalf. I was the second person that she stood up for and sent letters on their behalf to, and said she did not oppose my release. Even my trial judge, who had retired from Maryland Court of Special Appeals, he came back, because during my trial, he called me everything but a child of God. But after he seen everything I'd done in prison and even talked to some people, he said, this is not the same person he was at 17. And as his trial judge, I believe he deserved a second chance. Yeah. So second chances is imperative,
That's
even
right.
for us who are believers in God.
That's right.
If you read Acts 9, God gave Saul, who later became Paul, a second chance.
That's right.
All right, I heard that.
That's right.
I think all of us should look at this bill, contact our legislators, our state delegates, and our state senators, and call them, ask them what do they stand on this bill, and explain to them why you think they should support it and what are your opinions and your views. You don't have to always have somebody in your family incarcerated to support this. You can just believe that we deserve second chances after serving a long extended period of incarceration. And so we just asking that, the audience educate themselves on this bill and then come forward and let us know your decision.
Yeah, and this is connected to the humanity of the people is what Turner Bay is talking about right now. And this is something that I like to add is that, we're talking about humanity right now. We're talking about us being human beings when you're talking about second chances. Every one of us forget, every one of us make mistake. And just like the brother said, from a religious perspective, spiritual perspective, every last one of us sin. So it's no doubt about it, man, that when we have fallen in a situation where we have made a mistake, we want someone to forgive us and get that second chance. So it's important that we look at this from a human perspective as well. But I want to say just, quickly, and I wanted to make sure that I added this, is that, again, you can go, we already had the oral testimony done for Senate Bill 123 on the second look. And you can look it up on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and look up the Judicial Committee's hearings, you can find the testimony, and you'll see Maryland Judicial Hearings, and you'll see, for everyone in Baltimore, that Ivan Bates on record said he supports this bill.
Okay.
Ivan Bates on record said he supports this bill. And Ivan Bates is the state's attorney for Baltimore City. You will see on record that Aisha Braveboy from Prince George's County says she supports this bill. So we have prosecutors, individuals who are, you know, basically saturated with the responsibility of defending the public and being the representatives and attorneys for the public and victims of crime. They support this bill because it is comprehensive legislation in this crisis that we're living in right now of mass incarceration, especially of Black and brown people. So the bill is Senate Bill SB 123 and House Bill 724. And we have two great sponsors for this bill, and I make sure that I put their names out there because they are doing wonderful work, and that is Senator Jill Carter. She is sponsoring the bill from the Senate, and this is the amazing delegate Cheryl Pastor. She has sponsored this bill from the House. And, you know, we're getting great traction and great support with this bill from the public because, you know, again, from a human perspective, everyone understands that a person deserves a second chance. And we should be doing that right now for our individuals who are incarcerated in the state of Maryland, who have demonstrated that they deserve that second chance. Not because we're just saying we simply want to give it to them. No, as Turner Bay pointed out, we're saying because they have demonstrated themselves that they are worthy or deserving of that.
We're just asking for them to give an opportunity, no guarantee, only an opportunity.
That's
okay,
right.
And I appreciate, you know, and I appreciate both of you brothers for coming in. You know, we did a lot of that in the 20 years and the 30 years that we talk about. We did a lot of that time together in the most arduous, inhumane conditions. So the fact that we're here advocating for change and advocating for change in a manner such as getting a bill passed, getting some laws passed, and letting our brothers and sisters know that's left behind that we're trying to create a mechanism where they can have some hope, and that your record is going to be what gets you out. Your record got you in, and your record going to get you out. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining me today.
And please visit the website. Visit the website, MarylandSecondLook.com, MarylandSecondLook.com, www.mdsecondlook.com. Visit the website, and you'll see all of it on there.
Thank y'all for joining me.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all too,
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much for watching the Real News Network, where we lift up the voices, stories, and struggles that you care about most. And we need your help to keep doing this work. So please, tap your screen now, subscribe, and donate to the Real News Network. Solidarity forever.